Hello and welcome. I was meant to put a video up at the weekend, something came up, so you've now got the video today. All you people that are interested in video games, I'm currently in the process of doing a load of videos which I'm sure you'll enjoy, so stay tuned for them, and I do thank you for your patience. What am I going to talk about today in this video? Well, this is going to be another cheap versus pricey video. I think I'm going to be starting my blade steel videos soon, and depending on how many donations I get to the channel, if you haven't already, look in the description, click the link to my donations video, which I thought I'd just use this video to promote that as well. Any donations I get to my channel, it's all described in that video. But essentially all of it will go to knives. Nothing will go to, expenses or time used, or because it's a hobby. But any donations will go towards knives. I've got a lot of knives, but I'd like to do more knife reviews for everyone. And that means that you can request more particular knives, and that's just going to escalate, and that's what I would love to do. If you haven't already, check out the donation video. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you want to keep watching the videos, taking all the content, that's cool as well. I do appreciate your support. So, cheap versus pricey. We've got the Gerber, I think it's a Gerber dmf, from what I remember, and it's going up against a Pohl Force of a tank of a knife, the Alpha 3. I think they call it survival, but it's got the tanto blade shape. It might be useful in a survival situation. So, firstly, price, because otherwise, what would be the point of a cheap versus pricey? Cheap. I consider this knife to be cheap. It's pretty damn cheap. I got this for about £17. I think I got an offer on it, so normally it's about 20 to 30, depending. It is a cheap knife. It's Gerber, which, Gerber have their warranty and things like that, but it is quite cheap. 20 to £30 is pretty cheap for a knife, but it doesn't look cheap. I don't think that looks like a cheap knife. I think this knife looks like the business. It looks like it could definitely perform well. It just looks the part. It is a tactical folder. I use that term loosely because tactical means, different things for different people. The opening of this particular knife is a thumb stud, and you can't really deploy it that quickly. So I question the tactability. Does a knife have to be does it have to deploy quickly to be tactical? Does it have to be all black and non-reflective? That's really choices that you will have to make. Does it have to have a good solid grip? I'll just talk about the Pohl Force Alpha 3. Now this is a huge knife. This one will set you back at about £155, which is probably like $1,000 last time I checked. So it's a very expensive knife, and it's heavier. It's a lot heavier than the Gerber, but it's one of those weighty, quality heavy feels. You can just feel the quality in this. This is a little bit, well, you're not 100%. This, you're 100% secure with holding it, using it, the blade steel, everything like that. So deployment on this one is kind of like a thumb disc. I do have reviews on both of these knives, so if you haven't already, go check them out. I am going to be trying to sort out playlists and things tonight, so you've got that to look forward to, where I'll be categorising all the knives in one playlist or in multiple playlists, things like that. So I'll be working on my channel a lot tonight. But this is with a thumb disc deployment, which is great if you've got gloves on as well. You can deploy that with gloves on, no problem. I think it is a bit sharp on the thumb, just normally, and the whole knife just seems to be suited for wearing gloves, even with the thumb ramp there. But that's the deployment. Again, you can't really deploy this very fast, and again, this raises another question. Does a knife have to be tactical if it deploys loudly? You can deploy it, but you'd have to remember to push down and then gently lock the knife into place. And even then, if you're not very familiar with the knife, there is a question: is that actually locked? and then all of a sudden you make sure, click, cover blown. Saying that, they do a sheath, so you can deploy it and you can put it in the sheath and just have it as a deployed knife, really. And it's very, very strong. That is a stupid strong lock there. You're not going to be breaking that very easily. So they're kind of like the prices. Essentially, there's about £140, £130 difference between what I classify as one of the cheapest kind of tactical type knives and one of the most expensive. Yes, I do know you get your tops knives and you know your much more expensive ones, but a lot of them aren't folding. So I've tried to keep it with the folding theme here. But is it really worth it? Is the jump from a really cheap kind of tactical knife to a really expensive one, is it worth it? Because in the knife world, sometimes you don't get that trade-off, or you don't feel like you get the value that you'd normally get. I will compare the knives with all their features. The handle scales on the DMF are very, very smooth. They look like they offer a lot of grip, but actually it looks a little bit like carbon fibre, but it's not. There's a little bit of grip, but in perspective, it's not as much grip as, say, a Spyderco Tenacious. It's a bit slippy, really. The ergonomics of it, though, are quite comfortable with this kind of grip, kind of a forward grip. Your thumb goes on the thumb ramp, and there's heavy jimping there. No jimping on the first finger. There's a large enough guard to stop your finger from ever slipping onto the blade or the edge. So it's quite comfortable for a bit of a square knife. Also, reverse grip, that's not too difficult either. You can use this for egress, or whatever they call it. Hammer motion, yeah, you could use that in a kind of a non-lethal way. With it closed, again, same kind of thing. Already there's a bit of a letdown with the handle scales, but the actual design, how comfortable it is, works quite well. The blade, though, is very, very questionable. I mean, this is not very sharp at all in the grand scheme of things. The serrations are a good idea, but I think I said in the review, I wish they'd use this piece here to carry on the blade. I don't know why they just stopped. And the tanto is quite a good tanto. It's just this part and this part that kind of let it down. The thumb studs are not replaceable, so you can't get a screw and you can't replace them. You'd have to Loctite them in. I think I've said before, the lock moves a little bit, but I'm using a bit of super strength there. You don't really want to trust this knife too much, and there's only so much you can use of that blade edge. It's not that long at all. The clip, it's not going to give you much purchase. It's nice and long, but you're going to have the pommel sticking out. But the hole for the lanyard is great. You could fit 550 through there with not a problem. I love how it's screw construction, so you can replace all this, although you will need Torx screws, not the normal Phillips or anything like that. Bang for buck, you're getting quite a decent knife there for, you know, £20. That could do you quite well. If you're only going to buy one kind of tactical knife or tactical looking knife, you'd be quite pleased with this. Other than its shape being quite square and missing out on a couple of things I've mentioned, it is coated, so that will protect it further. But I think you can't really go wrong with something that cheap for all the features you're getting. However, the Pohl Force just takes all of that and it just makes it into a bit of a work of art, a bit of a design and manufacturing success. It takes the grip, which is kind of non-existent on the DMF, and it makes it into this nice scalloped kind of wavy pattern. It does offer a lot of grip, but also your fingers and your thumb, they just find places to get purchase to grip. It's a very clever design. All of the screws, as you can see, are kind of flat head screws. Even the main pivot screw and the pocket clip screw, you can just, you know, maintain this in the field. The pocket clip is this really nice, long, deep wire pocket clip, which is has a very strong retention. It's leagues above the Gerber. It really is, and again, that can be maintained and replaced. The ergonomics compared to the Gerber are really an extension of your hand. This knife offers many different ways to grip it. You can have the traditional, which gives you a lot of length. You can go backwards even and put your thumb there. I would have liked to have seen some kind of jimping inside there to give your thumb a little bit of more purchase, but that's still a decent grip, and you could have a fair bit of reach with that, both long and away. You can also choke up. You can choke up really heavily with this knife. Look how much you can choke up really for that fine cutting work, penetrating work, whatever. You can do that. And with the grip and the scale, really lends itself to, as I said at the start, to wearing gloves. It's a shame there's no jimping on this edge here, but there's such a nice arch there for your finger to go in to protect it if you want to hold it in a traditional way. A reverse grip, you then have access to this small but very powerful carbide glass breaker or egress, whatever. It's going to be bottom heavy if you're going to use it that way, which is going to be difficult because you're going to be moving, you're going to be using a lot of energy, more energy than you would if you didn't have the blade out, just to use that pommel strike. You can use it when it's closed, I suppose, but it's a bit tricky, a bit fiddly, and because of the blade shape, you might lose purchase on using that just normally. I suppose you could put your fingers there, but again, it requires a bit of a technique, and because the blade is so thin there on the top of the spine, you might fumble with that, and it might come loose. You can't get a solid grip as if you had a reverse grip and used it that way. But anyway, that's just a point I'd like to make compared to the other one and the types of grips. Really, the Gerber only has one grip, the traditional grip. You can use it in reverse grip to make some use of that pommel striker, but the Pohl Force definitely offers more options depending on the circumstances. Lock-wise, the Pohl Force has never let me down. It's been an incredible lock. It just feels very sturdy, and there's just no movement in there whatsoever. I've seen people pry open pallets and everything with this, and you just can trust that it will last a very long time. One of the big features between them is the steel. Gerber used this mystery steel, who knows what it is. I think it's 7CR, 14 MOV, something like that. So it's an okay steel, shouldn't be too difficult to sharpen. However, the Pohl Force, you're getting this D2 tool steel, which is hard. It's a hard steel, but it does keep an edge for a long time. But the beauty of D2 is that you can sharpen it on so many things. It might take you longer to sharpen than the Gerber or a Spyderco or something like that, but the edge is going to last longer. And you've also got these serrations, which are incredible serrations. But the piercing power on this is almost as good as the Otonashino Ken. That's much more streamlined, and that just goes through anything, whereas this is a kind of a traditional, kind of Americanized kind of tanto blade shape. I like the swedge kind of shape of the blade as well. I think, the Gerber, of course, has a kind of swedge, but I just think that the Pohl Force does it so much nicer with the angled lucks, and it's even swedged on the top there, or tapered, however you want to call it. It's worth to note that it does have some kind of jimping there, so you can get purchase with your thumb, or if it's in a glove as well. So that will help, with your grips. The bottom line is it worth such a big upgrade? Well, if you work in an environment where you want the best, and you want the best kind of steel, the best kind of lock, you want the performance, you want the reliability. When reliability, you shouldn't even need to question reliability if you're using one of these knives for their kind of intended purpose, be that survival, be that tactical, whatever. Yes, this is a bit heavy, but as a main blade, this could be quite decent. Whereas the Gerber, I'm not really sure what use it is for. I mean, I would have liked to have seen the blade go all the way to the hilt, but that's what it is. Will it work? Yeah. Would you trust your life on it? Probably not. Probably not. The Pohl Force, that will deliver, but is it worth the extra money? Is it worth? It's 6-7 times more expensive. I would say yes. If you're going to go for the best, if you're going to go for a top of the range folding knife that's as close to a fixed blade as possible, go for it. It's worth the money. If you want to try out the Gerbers, that's fine too, because you're going to get some good value out of those, but don't rely on them too much, and you will have to sharpen them more often, and there's always a chance that they might break or have any faults and things like that. So cheap versus pricey, I'm gonna this time say that the Pohl Force is worth the extra money. If you haven't already, go check out my reviews on both of them. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it as useful as I would hope. Please do watch the reviews if you wish. Put your comments below. Put suggestions for any new knives you wish me to purchase or review or have a look at. And also put your comments on if you own these knives or a Pohl Force. I know a couple of people that do own the Pohl Force. I'd like to get your opinions on the knife and how much you've used and abused it, or how well it's performed. I welcome all that in the comments below. Anyway, thanks ever so much for joining me this evening. Thanks for watching. Take care.